Big gaming conglomerates are funny like that. The last couple of years might have seemed turbulent for Ubisoft, but the company is so big that the ripples don't seem to reach certain parts of it. That has certainly been the case with Ubisoft Mainz. The studio has carved out its own niche in the strategy world, striking an elegant balance that is more in-depth than small city builders, but not as overwhelming as your average Paradox game or Civilization title. Although the Anno series has existed since I was little, Anno 117 Pax Romana is only my second foray into the franchise, after the wildly successful Anno 1800. As the name implies, the game takes place during the prosperous Pax Romana period around the turn of the millennium, making Pax with the setting.
I'll preface this review by confessing I am not one of those people who think about the Roman Empire every day, as I'm more partial to Cold War studies. That said, the Pax Romana is easily the best time frame for a Roman Anno title, as you get to spend most of your time bringing prosperity to the land rather than waging wars left and right. That doesn't mean there won't be fighting, but we'll get there later. As with Anno 1800, the developers have included a finely crafted campaign with Anno 117. The early stages act like an engaging tutorial, but after that, the training wheels come off, and it's up to you to survive the many perils that come your way. The first choice you face is which sibling you want to run the campaign as, Marcia Tertia or Marcus Nacratius. This family has the best eyebrows in all of Rome, but the two characters have fairly different personalities and story arcs. I picked Marcus for my first campaign, and though I came to regret that early on due to his constant whinging, his personality grew on me as we braved the challenges of governing together.
A Tale of Two Romes. Anno 117 lets you experience two ends of the Roman experience, the prosperity and tranquility of Latium and the oppressive marshes of Albion. Both maps make appearances in the campaign and the free mode, and they play out like two completely different games. Although the mainland has its challenges, outside of surprise events, your main enemy there is yourself. Failing to rule in Latium is primarily due to hubris, like when I bankrupted my city after expanding without accounting for resource drains. Predictable and avoidable. All of that looks like a kindergarten excursion next to the woes of Albion. The abominable island up north matches its oppressive weather with complex local realities, including a rogues gallery of leaders who barely tolerate or outright hate your Roman ways. Once you get the hang of how to build a rule over a functional city, the dynamics in Albion feel much more engaging. You get to decide whether you want to embrace the Celtic ways or Romanize your populace, which affects their perks and needs. However, the main challenge here is that Albion forces you to militarize far earlier than Latium on account of local raiders. As I quickly learned, standing up an army costs as much as running an entire city, but you don't have much choice in those parts. The only issue I had with the campaign in Anno 117 is the pacing. At times it throws more events and plot points at you than you can process in one go, only to then leave you completely alone for hours on end. While I don't mind being left to my own devices, at a certain point you get more from the game by just playing endless mode. The story gaps are never long enough to actually make you quit, but they sure came close at times.
War and Peace.
If you've played Anno 1800, you'll recognize most of the user interface and overall mechanics of Anno 11.7. Things got a little visual overhaul to feel more Roman, and the child in me felt nostalgic for the days of Age of Empires 2 while playing, which is a nice touch. Building a city is deceptively simple. Plop down roads leading to a trading post, add supporting buildings to meet their needs, and voila! Oh, they need this building, by the way. Once you add that, you have a workforce shortage. Expanding the workforce leads to food scarcity. Turns out running a Roman province is not that easy after all. This is one of the points where whether you'll like Anno 11.7 is a matter of taste. The core gameplay loop is not really city building as much as it is balancing the books and timing your expansions to not overexert yourself. My first game over came after I stood up a military to quell a rebel force in Albion. Rather than sitting tight and defending our cities, we had an expert raiding force with a large fleet of ships to interdict enemy logistics and troops to decimate enemy outposts. We took the fight to them, but the Emperor was not impressed. The army decimated our coffers, and I was promptly stripped of my titles despite my military glory. Much like construction, waging war in Anno 11.7 is formulaic in execution, requiring strategic depth instead. Tactical engagements have groups chipping away at each other's health until one either retreats or perishes, and it's not much to look at. However, because of how important troops and ships are to keep trade routes and outposts open, the big picture is entertaining enough.
The Roman theater? One of my favorite things about Anno is how good the presentation is compared to most strategy games and city builders. Nobody is winning any Oscars for their performances here, but the characters are well written, have engaging personalities, and their theatrical antics match the actions on the field. The relationship between Marcus and other officials in the campaign, for example, is made more interesting because of the emotional tone set by the dialogue sequences. Anno 1.17 presents most of this through talking heads over pretty paintings of period scenes, and it helps you stay immersed in the game. You are also periodically treated to cinematic cutscenes, though these are a little underwhelming in production value compared to the rest of the game. Still, the soundtrack would top Rome's equivalent of the Billboard Hot 100. During the meat of the game, you're able to zoom in and enjoy your citizens going about their lives, and the visuals are in sync with the simulation. A carriage that's parked is indeed not carrying anything, while raw materials only make it to processing facilities once the cargo is actually moved there, and citizens commute to their assigned workplace live. It's nice to actually have visual feedback on your city as a living organism, rather than just following the numbers going up and down over the course of the game. A more questionable aspect of the presentation is the Battle Pass, worked in as the Hall of Fame. This isn't exactly a shocking feature given that Anno 1.17 has both cooperative and competitive multiplayer, but I don't really love how certain gods are locked there. I'm firmly of the opinion that all Battle Pass unlocks should be cosmetic, but Ubisoft clearly disagrees with me.
When in Rome,
Throughout Marcus's journey, from a lowly bean counter to a powerful ruler, Anno 1.17 Pax Romana showed me valuable lessons about responsibility, confronting one's fears, but also knowing when to be compassionate or to take things in stride. I certainly didn't expect such a human touch in a game that's primarily about building roads, forming cities, then ruining them all by myself. Anno 1.17 hits the sweet spot of strategy and city building, with plenty to worry about in terms of economics and governance, but without being as oppressive as games like Hearts of Iron 3. Much like Pax Romana, the main challenge for Anno 1.17 is staying relevant. It was fun and exciting to form cities, fight wars, and learn from one's mistakes. But how many times can this be done without it feeling repetitive? The multiplayer side of things can certainly spice things up, though the more lenient gameplay might lend itself to unpleasant meta styles that Ubisoft Mainz may struggle to balance out in the long run. It's hard to tell how Anno 1.17 will hold up over the next year or 6, as was the case with Anno 1800. What I do know is that today, this is a relaxing and engaging game, and that's exactly what I needed. Closing comments. Ubisoft Mainz's good choices started early with Anno 1.17 Pax Romana. It picked the perfect time period to showcase the prime of Roman city building and package that in a user-friendly way that has more depth than meets the eye. There are some pacing issues with the campaign, and I have questions about the longevity of single-player modes, but that does not take away from the fact that this is an excellent city builder that tells a Roman tale with the grandeur it deserves.